Empowered Employers is a campaign that asks employers in Gloucestershire to remove barriers which disabled people may face in employment. These barriers show up in attitudes, financial barriers, spaces, policies and practices.
I think it's asking the question is the one thing I really wish people would do more, is actually speak with people with a disability, or if you've got someone in your organisation who has that knowledge or experience or is disabled themselves, actually not be afraid to say, what can we do to make our employment sort of process better?
Yeah, we had quite a clear idea before we started the programme actually of an area that we really wanted to focus on, which was that of workplace adjustments. And what the programme enabled us to do was really focus our attention on that in a really considered way.
So working alongside other organisations has been really beneficial for us as a business. Hooray being a small independent, and having the likes of Hydro and Renshaw within the partnership has been really beneficial to see how larger organisations have made changes that then we've been able to implement within our processes, but on a slightly smaller scale, and actually see how those changes have made an impact across both large organisations.
I think working with other organisations and other companies has really enabled us as an organisation to learn from best practice from other companies, I think. As a manufacturing engineering company, speaking to other manufacturing companies, for example, enabled us to understand some of the things that they do to overcome some of the challenges that we have. For example, having production members of staff, taking them off the production floors, a bit of a challenge. So how do they overcome that? And being able to talk to staff in those environments about what are the challenges they come up against when they're communicating some of these changes, what are the kind of cultural challenges that they have. So yeah, it's been really insightful to understand what others are doing and then to be able to apply that and kind of reflect that back as well, I think.
So my advice for any organisation looking to improve their practices, inclusive practices, would be to not be too scared. A lot of people think that naturally, as soon as you start talking about reasonable adjustments, it's going to be really expensive and people are going to need a lot of resources. Whereas in actual fact, it can be as simple changes to a policy, or I think it's on average £75 for a reasonable adjustment, which considering businesses, organisations, that's reasonably cheap, and actually doesn't mean they're spending out thousands and thousands of pounds.
We thought we were dealing with workplace adjustments prior to us joining the scheme, but actually it just gave us some more knowledge around how we can enforce that in a little bit more detail. And we've had people that may have an accident at work that would generate them to not be able to fulfil their full role when they came back, but we've looked at alternative roles, and we found them an alternative role with alternative accountabilities as well. We've also had to adjust machinery so that we can allow them to continue working with their disability. With things like reducing someone's hours to a more of a part-time role as opposed to a full-time role.
Particularly in an engineering industry, we've probably done things the same way for a long time, and learning how other industries do things that are quite different to us enables us to, I guess, be quite innovative with how we bring in a more inclusive culture.
We've been very CV driven, and so with placements, because I run the placements here, so with the placements I'm going to be trialling all of our positions, so more of an application process to reduce the conscious and unconscious biases, just so that we can level the playing field in terms of what comes through the door, and who we give those opportunities to is based on competency rather than how well you can do an interview or how well you can write a CV.
But it gave us that combined learning. And every session that I went to, I'd turn up thinking, yes, I think I've got my plan nailed, I think I know what we need to do. And every session I'd come away and think, oh, yes, there's so much more, let's write that into it, let's include that into the plan. So it wasn't just the learning that we got from having discussions with the people with lived experience, but also from the peers and the other employers there. That combination gave us a real insight and really helped us to build those plans to help drive this as a topic within our business.
It's definitely the disability training, I feel, and the understanding of disability has been one major thing that I took from it, and how it's very still quite taboo, I think, for employers in general, and how they can actually feel confident in management to ask the questions.
Working alongside employers with the help of disabled people and Barnwood Circle members has just made this work really meaningful, and it's really rooted in evidence and research that says that these barriers are the things that exacerbate the disability employment gap, the payment gap and the opportunities gap.